time runs down. Pistons wasting no time in getting out of here. Now timeout was called. They left the bench, although there's 7 and 9/10 seconds remaining. The Pistons just left.
Isiah Thomas, you need to shut the fuck up. I'm sick and tired of you, all them dick suckers over there at ESPN, Shannon Sharp at Fox Sports, Nick Wrong at Fox Sports, and I'm just tired of all you nut huggers shitting on the GOAT, Michael Jordan. I'm about to give y'all a quick history lesson over this whole Jordan and Isiah Thomas thing. Let's take it back to the early 1980s. Prior to 1984, Isiah Thomas was the man here in Chicago. Isiah Thomas was born and raised in Chicago, West Side. He was the hometown hero back in the day. You know, even when he went to Indiana and won the championship under Bobby Knight, a lot of people in Chicago still showed Isiah Thomas love. He was the hometown hero. Then he got drafted to the Pistons. People still showed him love until 1984. What happened in 1984? The Bulls drafted Michael Jordan with the 3rd pick in the '84 draft. And almost immediately, Michael Jordan became a superstar literally overnight. He took the NBA and the city by storm. Keep in mind, prior to Jordan coming to the Bulls were a horrible team. Man, they barely could sell half the old Chicago stadium to capacity back in them days. So Jordan comes in, bam, takes over the league. Now Isiah Thomas feeling kind of salty because he goes from being the hometown hero to now everybody in the city loving Jordan. Now this is why I got a problem with Isiah on this, man. Okay, if you played for the Bulls, you still would have had that love. But naturally, when another player comes in and he plays for your home team, of course he gonna get that love. He played for the fucking city. So Isiah Thomas was feeling kind of salty that he wasn't getting the same love that Jordan was getting. So what did he do? Allegedly, him, Magic Johnson, George the Iceman Gervin, and all these other vets, they plotted on a freeze-out game in the '85 All-Star game to try to, freeze out Jordan by not letting him get the ball. So Jordan finds out about this, and naturally he feels hurt. But guess what? After the All-Star weekend was over, the next team that the Bulls played was the Pistons. And what does Michael Jordan do? He goes out and scores 49 points and beat the Pistons in overtime that day. And it's back in 1985. So that hatred was already there with Isiah Thomas with Jordan. Now let's go to some of the comments that Isiah Thomas was saying, right? He was saying, well, I beat Magic and I beat Bird. Okay, I give you that. But how did you beat them? The Pistons didn't beat the Celtics until 1988. Bird, Parrish, and McHale was in their 30s at that time. They had already been to 5-6 straight NBA finals. So they were already old at that time. And then, y'all went to the finals against a Lakers team that had already been to 7-8 finals in that decade. And then in '89, y'all beat an old Lakers team that Magic got hurt in Game 2, Worthy was hurt, and Kareem was a shell of himself. He was like 42 years old. So you bragging about that? And you keep saying you was dominant over Jordan. Let's get some facts straight here. And this is why I say Isiah Thomas should shut the fuck up. First of all, you personally was never dominant over no Jordan. You look at your head-to-head matchups against the Bulls and Michael Jordan stats, it don't even compare, homie. It don't even compare. Let's go down the line with the playoff history. Okay, you beat a Bulls team that was pretty much a one-man show in the late 80s. It was all Michael Jordan back then. You had a Scottie Pippen who was a rookie, Horace Grant who was a rookie. They weren't even developed yet. You had Bill Cop, you had a young Charles Oakley, and then the next year they traded him for Bill Cartwright. So in '88, Michael Jordan takes a young Bulls team to 50 wins, He wins MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same year, and All-Star Game MVP, and won the Slam Dunk Contest that same year. Now, 88, this the same year y'all went to the finals against the Lakers, and y'all lost in Game 7 to the Lakers. Now, I give Isiah Thomas this, in that 88 finals, that was that Game 6, that was the game that he sprained his ankle and went on that 25-point tear in the third or fourth quarter. So in the third quarter. So I give Isiah his props on that. But y'all still lost that series. So y'all came back stronger the next year. But in 88, y'all beat a young Bulls team that was up and coming. And Michael Jordan was still giving y'all hell, scoring 30 plus. Now let's go to 89. 89's Bulls team, it was still pretty much a one-man show. Jordan was still leading the league and scoring with 35 points a game, right? So 89 comes out. The Bulls get to the 89 comes out. Michael Jordan hits the infamous shot over Craig Elo to win the first round. Then they play the Knicks, beat them in 6. So now they take on the Pistons. Pistons win Game 1, Bulls win Game 2 in Detroit. Game 3. Now this is when the bullshit with the Pistons really started, right?
Rodman is on him one-on-one. 5 seconds to go. Jordan off the glass.
Game 3 of the 1989 Eastern Conference Finals, Isiah Thomas was on Lake Michigan. He was on the phone with Joe Dumars and they talked for hours about how to stop Jordan. How to stop him. That's when they came up with the Jordan rules. And the Jordan rules was taken into effect the very next game. From games 4, 5, and 6, the Pistons won and they gave Jordan a physical beating. Yet and still, Jordan was still doing his thing. Jordan was still putting up numbers. The only difference was the Pistons in 89 was a complete team. Jordan hadn't reached that plateau yet. Now, let's go back. If you were dominant over Jordan, were you dominant over Larry Bird? Were you dominant over Magic Johnson? Or did you have to wait until they got old, until they played in about 5 or 6 straight finals, and they just wore out because of attrition for you to win? Even Larry Bird himself, when he first played the Bulls in the 86 playoffs, he even said that, I think this is God disguised as Michael Jordan. Even he knew what time it was. Even Magic Johnson eventually came to his senses and said, Michael Jordan is the future of this league. Once he takes over, it's over. Now let's move forward to 1990. Pistons are the defending champions. The Bulls get Phil Jackson as a new head coach. And the Bulls get a little bit better. Pippen becomes an all-star that year in 1990. Jordan still leading the league in scoring. Now, the Pistons and the Bulls meet once again in the Eastern Conference Finals. It goes to a Game 7. Now, in Game 7, unfortunately, the Bulls lose because of Scottie Pippen having that migraine. But the Bulls was right there within that small reach of the throne that y'all are taking on the Blazers that year in the finals. So y'all go to the finals, y'all beat Portland, right? But what did y'all do? Y'all just propelled Jordan to become even better. And despite the fact y'all was physically beating up the Bulls, y'all was physically throwing Jordan to the ground, Jordan still putting up 30 plus every single game when you cocksuck.
There's Thomas and Jordan with congratulations as Paxson fouls out. What can you say about Michael Jordan and what he has become in this league, QB?
Well, it's just nice what the building is doing right now. Total of 3.
And now we get to 1991. We get to when the dynasty, the real dynasty started. Isiah Thomas is 29 years old in his prime in 91. Joe Dumars is about 27, 28 around that time. Dennis Rodman is about 27, 28 around that time. Only people that were old on that Pistons team was Aguirre, who was about 31. And hell, that ain't even old. Back then, if you was between 27 and 32, you were considered in your prime back then. Now, 91. The Bulls they're coming into their prime. Jordan is now the best in the game. Yes, the league started initiating flagrant fouls because of the physicality. It was taking away the heart of the game. And trust me, the Bulls were not the only team in that era that was complaining about this. 91 comes around. Bulls 61-21. They're the best team in the league. They take on the Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now they're in their domain. Now the stage is set where they're going to play in Chicago. Bulls dominate the first 2 games. Go to Detroit, beat their ass in game 3 in a close one. And this is what started the real walk-off. Now Jordan, I gotta say this, Jordan was talking a lot of shit. But that's just how the game was back then. Jordan said the Pistons style of play is harmful to the game. It's a dirty style of play. He was speaking facts. And this is what really damaged Isiah Thomas's career. In game 4, Bulls blow out the Pistons. Rodney, that's the game where Rodney pushed Pippen real hard into the stands, and Pippen laid down for a second, got up, shook it off. That's when the Pistons knew they could no longer intimidate the Bulls. And as the game is winding down, all the starters at this point are on the bench because the game is over. Bulls blew their ass out. What does Isiah Thomas do? He laid a claim, and this is on the ESPN 30 for 30 Pistons documentary. He laid a claim that Bill Laimbeer convinced him to walk off the bench. You the fucking leader and captain of the team. How can another dude convince you to do something against your own free will? So what does Isiah Thomas do? Instead of being professional and shaking hands to now the new Eastern Conference champions, the Bulls, he walks past them, ducks like this, as if he didn't want to even look in Michael Jordan's direction, and just walks out to the locker room. But every year between 88, 89, and 90, when the Bulls lost to the Pistons, Michael Jordan always shook Isiah Thomas's hands. Michael Jordan always congratulated the other Pistons players on them beating them. But you mean to tell me Isiah Thomas couldn't do the same thing? But he supposedly was dominant over Jordan.
Bulls advance to the NBA championship round.
And now this is the main reason why Isiah Thomas was left off the Dream Team. It wasn't just Jordan that didn't want Isiah Thomas on the Dream Team. Because initially, Jordan didn't even want to be on the Dream Team. Jordan had already won a gold medal in 1984, so initially he didn't even want to be on it. But because the NBA and David Stern was trying to internationalize the game, and for the first time they were bringing NBA players into, the Olympics, it made sense to have the best player in the game in the Olympics. So Jordan agreed to it, and he asked who all gonna be on it. And they started mentioning names, and he was like, if Isiah Thomas on there, I don't want to be on there. But you know who else didn't want Isiah Thomas on there? Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, because they all knew that Isiah Thomas was a disruption to the camaraderie that all those Olympians were going to have on that dream team. Isiah Thomas loved his game. Easily one of the best top three-point guards to have ever played the game. But Isiah Thomas is a fucking prick. He's a diva, always has been. And for him to say that bullshit out of his mouth, that he dominated Jordan, that is complete bullshit. How do you dominate somebody, but you gotta come up with petty rules just to slow their progress down? You're not dominant over them. Because if he was really dominant over them, Michael Jordan would have never beat Isiah Thomas. And don't give me that shit that they was old as fuck. Isiah Thomas ain't had that wrist injury. I take that back. Isiah Thomas had that wrist injury early in 91. Apparently it didn't affect him during the 91 conference. Find this out, since y'all say that us Jordan fans are delusional. Guess what happened in 1991? Michael Jordan was dealing with knee tendonitis that whole postseason. Don't believe me? Go look at any video of the 1991 NBA Finals against the Lakers. It'll prove my point. So in conclusion, Isiah Thomas, shut your ass up, man. Don't ever disrespect the GOAT. I understand you hate him because he ended up becoming way bigger and way better and way more powerful than you ever can become. You're a Hall of Famer. Ain't nobody gonna ever take that away from you. But to say that you were dominant over him, if you're not talking about how your Pistons team defeated the Bulls, and then when the Bulls defeated you, y'all motherfuckers didn't even sniff the Eastern Conference Finals ever again, don't ever say you was dominant over them, man. All this trying to shit on Jordan just to uplift LeBron, man, I'm sick and tired. The only reason why the Pistons beat the Bulls between 88 and 90 was because y'all had a more complete team, whereas Jordan was really a one-man team until he had a complete team. And once he had a complete team, while still being the most dominant player in the league, y'all were done. Plain and simple. Those are facts, and I dare anybody to dispute that. Isiah, let it go, man. You going on 60 years old, you still holding on to shit from 30 years ago. Michael Jordan is not the reason why your legacy is somewhat tainted. You are the reason why your legacy in the Bad Boy Pistons era is somewhat tainted, because y'all were the cause of your own demise, man. And that's all I gotta say about this, fam. I'm out. 100.